Caro, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time of day it is where you are, I pray that your mind, your body, and your spirits are poised and ready to receive and respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. If you are familiar with a bit of old school hip hop, you remember the song Fight the Power by Public Enemy. You remember how it starts off with this scorching hot clip of a lecture by someone, it sounds like someone from the Nation of Islam, where he says, "You're the best trained, the best educated, the best equipped troops who refuse to fight. In fact, it's safe to say that many of you would rather switch than fight." And it's a real powerful, gripping call to action, right? And I love that particular clip because what he's invoking is this military mindset, right? Because people who are willing to fight for the nation are offering up the highest level of service. That's why they're called servicemen and servicewomen, right? They serve their country in the most sincere way, right? The most demanding way. They put their lives on the line for people who they don't know and people who they'll never meet, right? So in that little clip, fight, the word fight is a metaphor for service. And when you look at it in terms of service, it broadens the possibilities out of, let's say military into every area of human activity wherein African Americans have been trained, educated, and equipped, right? Intellectually, creatively, socially. It speaks to our position, our privileged position in the global African empire. And it reveals the ways in which we have this supremely advantageous position, but for whatever reason, we refuse to serve. We refuse to make use of the resources that we have in service of the community, right? And so right now you should be thinking of the ways in which you are trained, the ways in which you are educated, the ways in which you have been equipped, the experiences and the assets that you have in every dimension of life, and all the different ways in which you could be of service, but for whatever reason, you are idle or you're not optimizing all those resources. Now, if you don't know, this is the Orisha Lifestyle Academy, and I'm your instructor, Obafemi Origua. And today, what I want to share with you are 3 reasons why people refuse to serve. Okay, 3 reasons why people refuse to serve. And this is based on my, on one hand, what I have inherited as a member of a service-oriented family. For generations, my family has been service, right? They were preachers, teachers, nurses, public servants, public officials and stuff like that. So we have been service people for generations in my family, not so much in the military, but in a variety of other areas. And then in my own personal experience, I have also grown up serving the community, as primarily as an educator, human services professional, priest, right? And so in those cumulative experiences, I have been able to observe some trends and some tendencies that I believe have a real strong influence on why so many of us refuse to get in the game, right? Because it's one thing to observe that something's happening. It's one thing to identify a problem. Anybody could do that. But it's something else to explain the root of it, to identify the nature of it, to give you an opportunity to give your, to create orientation, to see where you are in this spectrum, and then make some choices so you can do more. You can be more involved. You can make a more meaningful contribution. And I say all this because I know deep down, everybody wants to make a contribution. Everybody wants to show up. Everybody wants to demonstrate their value in the areas that matter most. They want to be useful, most useful to the people who matter most, the people who they care about most deeply, the causes that they care about most deeply. It's a unique sense of fulfillment and gratification that comes from being truly useful. And the only way you can do that is through dedicated, consistent service. Right? So let's get to it. What stands in the way? What are 3 reasons why people don't serve? One reason is we have a false dilemma. A lot of us have a false dilemma about what we need to be able to serve. And that dilemma boils down to time versus money. Oh, if I had more time, I could do more. Right? Because you work 40 hours a week to make that money, to pay the rent, etc. And that just, in a day, there are only 24 hours in a day. You don't have a lot of time after you've worked 40 hours, right? Plus all the parts that go into preparing for, going to work and, decompressing after work, etc. You just don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of mental capacity, emotional, energetic capacity. And then, of course, you're doing all of it for money. And so you feel like if you had more money, you could do more. If I had more money, I could do more, right? And those are real dilemmas, but they're not real obstacles. And let me tell you what I mean. In reality, your dilemma is leverage. It's about leverage. Leverage is what enables you to get things done with less effort. Leverage is about positioning. Leverage is about optimizing the resources that you have so that more can get done with less effort. It's about working smarter. Information, relationships, natural gifts and talents, all these things provide leverage. Okay? And so if you examine your life, you're going to start to find a lot of different ways in which you could use what you have a little bit differently so that it doesn't require that you are putting in more time or you need more money. It's making better use of what you know. It's making better use of who you know. It's making better use of different areas of influence that you have. Right? There's influence that you have that you could easily use, and it doesn't require more effort. It just is a question of positioning. Right? So if you are willing to use leverage, the false dilemma of time versus money becomes less important. You remove that, as an obstacle for why you can serve. You can serve through leverage. Is what I'm trying to say. You can use leverage to be of higher and higher service. A second reason that people refuse to serve, and this is a big one, is the externalization of trust. Right? We like to use, other people's imperfections to justify our inertia. Let me say that again. We like to use other people's imperfections to justify our inertia. That's why we like celebrity gossip and all forms of gossip so much. You like gossip so much because it feeds your inertia. It justifies your distrust of everything and everybody. All these conspiracy theories and all this celebrity gossip and all of this constant canceling of people and criticizing people, what you're doing is you're justifying The reason why you don't have to trust people. See, that's why. It's because of this and because of that and because of the other. That's why I don't get involved. That's why I don't mess with other people. That's why I stay to myself. That's a cop out. That's what you're really doing. You're refusing to serve because of other people's problems, real or imagined. Okay? So you got to rein that in. You got to rein that in. It's not about other people. It's about you. Because you don't have to trust everybody in every dimension of life. They don't have to be, nobody has to be perfect and beyond reproach in order for you to rake the yard with them, paint the side of the house with them, put a new roof on the house. They don't have to be have a A1 credit for you to rake the yard with them. Right? They don't have to have an impeccable history of, perfect attendance in school in order for you to invest money with them. That's not a requirement. Right? So trust yourself. Trust your vision. Trust the vision of your ancestors. Trust the plan of Olodumare, who put you here in a certain place at a certain time with certain people. This is not random. You're in the same area with these people who you're constantly criticizing because y'all have a job to do together. Trust that Olodumare knows what Olodumare is doing by putting you together. You don't have to know how it all works out. And those people don't have to meet all of your criteria for being good. You just have to believe that there is a plan and order and you're part of it. Do your part. Set proper boundaries. Stay in your lane. You don't have to have universal trust in every aspect of everybody's life. Boys and girls, that's a cop-out. Okay? If you're doing that, that's a cop-out. You need to trust yourself. You need to trust the ancestors. You need to trust Ifa. You need to trust Olodumare. If this is your tradition and this is what you believe in, stop worrying about other people's imperfections. Okay? And if you need any more proof, I want you to find the perfect Orisha. I want you to find the Orisha who has never burnt down a town or killed all of his citizens or gotten drunk and made imperfect people or gave, imperfect or incorrect information. Show me the flawless Orisha. Okay? And then we can start looking for perfect, flawless people who are worthy of your trust. Oshun is not perfect. Ogun is not perfect. Shango is not perfect. Oromila, Obatala, Yemoja, they're not perfect. But it's in their imperfection and their commitment to serve and be obedient to Olodumare that they get elevated to the status of Orisha. Why should you be different? Stop copping out. Okay? Find out what you need to be doing, where you are, with what you have, and start doing it. Right here, right now. A third reason why people refuse to serve is closely related to this externalization of trust. And it's perfectionism. Okay? Perfectionism, when I see perfectionism, people who are overly perfectionistic, I think this person is a professional procrastinator. Perfectionists tend to be professional procrastinators. Waiting for every single thing to be exactly how you have it in your mind. Listen, complete is better than perfect. Let me say that again. Complete is better than perfect. This is something I learned listening to jazz musicians, or really reading jazz musicians talking about their craft. And something that was a recurring theme was this vision that they had in their mind, the sounds that they had in their minds. I'm talking about the old jazz musicians from like the 50s and the 60s. They had some sort of a composition in their mind that they could never quite translate, into notes on the trumpet or on the piano or the saxophone or what have you. Right? They were looking for a perfect sound, but they could only approximate it. But it was in the attempt to express what they heard inside their heads that they got closer and closer and closer and closer, and they created the masterpieces that we know. Right? It was them approaching the sound, trying to replicate the sound that they made great works. Right? So let that be your approach. You may have a pristine vision of everything that the world should be, everything that your work should be, and that's great. But if you're not actively pursuing that, if you're not implementing that vision bit by bit every single day, what you're doing is procrastinating. And again, you're justifying your inertia. Okay? So remember that complete is better than perfect. Start doing what you can with what you have right here, right now. And that will cure perfectionism once and for all. Okay? So those are three really powerful dilemmas that I see people struggle with day in and day out. But I want you to know that even as you may struggle with one of those obstacles that prevent you from being of service, know that your destiny is not to be underutilized. There is no destiny that is characterized by underutilization. Every destiny has its own place in the fabric of creation. You have a place, and it's only a matter of you making decisions to play your role and be active in that place. Okay? So I want to invite you at this point to take small steps. Okay? Take small steps every single day. Look at your resources. Leverage what you have. Leverage who you know. Leverage what you are and who you are. Have trust and faith in the Supreme Being. Have trust and faith in your ancestors. Have trust and faith in your own prenatal choice. Focus on what you can do. Focus on getting something done every single day. Okay? And I guarantee that you are going to increase your level of service. Okay? And in the end, if you refuse, right, to serve, if you refuse to show up, then it's guaranteed that all of the problems that we suffer with today, they're going to continue. As long as we continue to justify our refusal to serve, all of the ailments that handicap our community across the United States, throughout the Caribbean, all throughout Latin America and the African continent, those problems will persist. As much as we complain about them, as much as we suffer from them, until we decide that we want the remedy more than we're afraid of the difficulty associated with overcoming those obstacles, those problems are going to persist. And they're probably going to worsen, as a matter of fact. So history will judge us, as they say. History will judge us. And in the same ways that we look back at previous generations and we wonder, wow, why didn't they do more with what they have? Future generations will look back at us and they will say the same thing. Okay? Why didn't we do more with what we had? I want you to be able to look the future squarely in the eye. And I want you to be able to say, I did my part. I did my part. This is how I overcame this obstacle. This is how I increased my leverage. This is how I intensified my trust. This is how I got things done in spite of them not being ideal. This is what I did. And demonstrate for the future generations what you know. Not what you think, not what you heard, but what you know based on what you actually did. That's what I want for you. That's the power that I want you to have going forward. That you never have to lower your head. You never have to have that nagging doubt in your heart that says, did I do everything that I could? Did I really fully show up? Or was I making excuses? Was I the break, the weakest link? Or was I actually holding up my end of the bargain? Was I doing everything I could? Okay? I want you to have that certainty. Within the School of Orisha Studies and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy, I'm always looking for leaders. I'm always in search of those people who want to improve the world through positive influence. Is that you? Are you one of those people who's dedicated and devoted to improving life for yourself and those who you're destined to serve? Because if you are, I want you to join me in the School of Orisha Studies or in the School of or the Orisha Lifestyle Academy, so that my teachings, my practices can help you start living the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you are destined to serve. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start living the medicine together. Bye for now.